All right, we're ready to talk golf. Actually, they've been talking golf for the past 5 minutes as I've been setting up. So all of that really great content. That's okay. We're ready to go. We were just practicing. We have a really complete show for you because we've got the Travelers Championship we're going to get to in just a couple of minutes. We've got the LPGA Championship where Jan is actually reporting live from. We also have more LIV Tour news. Believe it or not, this is going to be an every week occurrence. Brooks Koepka now the latest Jared to bolt for the LIV Tour.
Yeah, it seems like they're just kind of going one by one. Like what it feels like a bit of a domino effect, right? Yeah. Like one big-ish guy goes, and then that makes Brooks comfortable saying he's leaving. And then I don't know what's going to happen beyond this. There were rumors this morning that Morikawa was going to be next, but wow. he and his team have said that that's not the case. So I mean, take that for what you will, because Brooks said a few months ago that he wasn't leaving, so it doesn't mean anything. But yeah, we'll see. I think there's going to be more big names to go.
Well, it's interesting because the thing is, you never know how much more they're being offered. I mean, then you get to a number, and it's just you can't turn it down. I mean, he just got married, and somebody was saying, do you know how cool all the good-looking wives going? It's like, they're all gorgeous,
And you got to take care of those wives, and I'm sure the wives probably I can't imagine they care where their husbands play as long as they're bringing in the money, right?
Exactly. When you're bringing in that much money, that takes away the pressure of ever being hurt or something happening.
Well, it's crazy. I know that there are a lot of the kiss-ass media out there that just continues to slam the LIV Tour and the players, and this is terrible for golf. Well, look, you can just blame the PGA Tour then, because the PGA Tour could have fixed all of this.
Yeah,
they could have had an agreement with the LIV Tour, and they'd be able to play on both tours. But this is, to me, it's all the PGA Tour is doing. And
well, we've said that last week. I mean, they bullied it. I think the PGA, I talked to a couple of the actual PGA of America guys today who are they're sponsoring the LPGA Championship, the KPMG, because it's a combination of the LPGA and the PGA teaching and the PGA division for the women. And they're obviously all on the PGA Tour side, but they should have just waited. Like I said last time we talked about it, there's a contract in place with the PGA and the LPGA. They should have just sat there and waited and seen what happened. And instead of saying, no, you're all basically fired and you're DQ'd from the PGA Tour, they needed to wait just a little while to see what happens.
Yeah.
Now everybody talks about it. And like we're sitting there. I walked into their hospitality with all the players, and everybody's talking about it.
And when are they? I don't even know when they're playing again. When are they playing again? Like in a couple of weeks?
The Portland event is next week.
Okay, Portland.
What is it opposite, Jared? What event's opposite that?
John Deere.
It's John Deere.
Yeah. Oh, see, but at least he picked weaker tournaments. He didn't,
right.
He didn't take it against. Like look at this week. We've got KPMG with the LPGA major, the PGA major, and then they have the men's senior open as well. So he didn't do anything like that. And it's not that Greg and I've probably never really gotten on that well, but I'm on his side now.
I just don't want the tournaments to get too watered down. Like I want to see all the best players playing against each other. And like if too many guys bolt to the LIV Tour, it's like we're only going to get that for maybe the 4 majors, and we don't even know at this point if these LIV Tour guys are going to be allowed to play in the Masters next year or the PGA Championship next year. So I like seeing what we saw last week. The best players in men's golf all competing at the same tournament.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. It was a great event too.
Yeah, seeing Matthew Fitzpatrick win, considering he won there, the U.S. Amateur, the karma was obviously all for him. It was a great story, but you could also tell that not only Fitzpatrick, but also Zalatoris for the first time, both of those players who had never won on the PGA Tour before and had been there, especially Zalatoris, close to win a major. several times for Zalatoris. Fitzpatrick just recently into PGA. They faltered over and over again, but neither player played poorly on Sunday. Zalatoris played the best he's ever played in a final round on a major, but he just happened to play on the wrong Sunday where Matthew Fitzpatrick also played as good as he's ever played. And I think that just stands good for Zalatoris the next time he's in that spot, Jared.
Oh, I'll be backing him next time. I'll be backing him at the British Open probably. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Both those guys play well enough to win. I was bitter on Sunday night, and I was really upset about it was a hole 15 where they both missed right, but Fitzpatrick missed 20 yards right, so he ended up in the trampled down. He had a great lie. Zalatoris only missed like 10 yards right. He had the thick stuff. He couldn't hit the green.
Yeah, you hate when that
Patrick
happens.
did. Yeah. That was a shot difference. But I mean, Fitz deserved to win. You look at the stats, like he led the field tee to green for the week. He hit 17 of 18 greens on Sunday at a U.S. Open. Like, that's just unbelievable.
That is unbelievable.
So he definitely deserved to win.
Yeah, when I won the Open, I let in greens hit, and it really makes a difference in a major because you've got to be able to hit tees and greens. I mean, fairways and greens, and he did that. And he really played poorly at the PGA, under the pressure of being in the last group. So it was nice to see that both of them could handle the pressure. Now that that's happened, now I think Zalatoris will break through pretty easily now.
Well, one more major to go, and as you mentioned, Jared, that's the Open Championship coming up next month. John Deere next week, and then they get into, what do they have to play? The Scottish Open the week before the Open Championship. So things will start to cook up, and then we'll really get going when the Open Championship is over and we get into the FedEx Cup playoffs and all that kind of stuff. So, but we still have one more major to go. It was a really good it was a really good major for the U.S. Open after what we saw at the PGA Championship, though, because to me, I mean, we talked about it with the PGA Championship. I don't need to see the PGA Championship play like the U.S. Open. And I actually thought the PGA Championship golf course might have been harder and more difficult in a way. I just thought the U.S. Open setup was just perfect. And the best players that were playing, like Fitzpatrick, he barely won the event. And yet, Jared, like you said, he hit 17 greens on Sunday. I mean, how perfect did he have to be to win that event?
Yeah. Well, I liked it. And one of the players said this. I can't remember who it was, but someone said that, they thought they could have made birdie on every hole, but they also could have made bogey or worse on every hole. So it just, the good shots were rewarded. Yes. And if you missed, you were going to get punished, which is exactly what it should be.
Okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't tricked up, which sometimes the USGA makes them trying to get it to even par. Winning, they trick it up, and I thought the PGA, as I already said, they messed up Southern Hills. I thought it was better before. So. And
then we also didn't have any of those ridiculous situations on the greens where you see like the ball move 30 or 40 yards or something just because the green was set up a certain way, and it's just so none of that. It was none of those clown shows around the greens, and I think that was important.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. Usually the players are complaining at the USGA and saying wish the PGA was setting it up, but they did a good job this time.
Yeah, so they deserve it. Unfortunately, the Country Club is a place that they may never go back to again for another 50 years. So that's, but we understand, it's in a small locale, and they don't really want all the distractions more than once every 25 years or so. So I can get that. Okay. Now, the other thing we wanted to touch up on just quickly was the announcement that it appears that Nick Faldo is retiring at the end of the year. So, we lose Johnny Miller, and now we're going to lose Nick Faldo. That's not good. And I don't see any of these players. I was looking forward to the day maybe when Phil Mickelson was going to retire. We can get him in the booth, but the way he's going, it might be another 10 years before he decides to get into the booth. So I don't know. I mean, does anybody have a favorite?
Well, I think that they've actually been leaning towards putting the comedian in there.
Oh, man.
You mean any comedian?
No. I'm talking about Faraday.
Oh. Well,
they promised him that spot a long time ago.
I mean, I don't mind if they try it. We'll see how it goes, but because some of these guys are bland.
I heard that he was offered that, and then that's why he stayed. And I still think they're probably. I'm sure they've already hired somebody.
Yeah, they announced today that Trevor Immelman is going to replace Faldo. I don't know if that's a permanent thing or just like for the next year, but he's going to be the immediate replacement.
Jeez.
Wow, I'm surprised that he's retiring so early.
Yeah, especially when there's a lot of money to be made nowadays.
He makes a lot of money. They make $1 million a year.
Well, I guess that's for next year. Okay, so let's start first of all with the Travelers, and we'll go through our picks. We'll also have some sleepers, some bargains, and we will, by the way, a little bit later on, we'll have Jan's picks for the LPGA Championship, and I'll also post Jared's a couple of his top stats, which actually I'll post right now. We'll start first of all with the top 10 on par 70s under 7,200 yards over the last 2 years. And at the top of the list is Russell Henley. And he must have decided to not play because
Correct.
I thought he was going to play. And then I looked up and he wasn't on the list.
Yeah, he withdrew either Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, he was like 50-1, and I was going to be tempted to bet him, even though the guy never wins. But he always pops up on these stats. His stats are good, but he just doesn't convert them into victories.
Yeah, because the other list is is the top 10 on par 4 is 400 to 450 the last 2 years, and Russell Henley. Yeah, I was going to put money on him too. You can't not put money on him when he's the top of those two stats that you have.
I'm not sure why he withdrew because this seems like a perfect course for him.
Yeah, so, but as far as that first list, 7,200, par 70s, under 7,200. So basically, and this is a really short golf course, right? What is this, not even 6,900 yards, Jan?
Yeah, it actually plays a little bit longer than that because there's a lot of uphills and a lot of water, so you really can't rip your driver too much.
Okay, and then let's see, who else is on this list? We have some of our picks on this list. Siwoo Kim, Keegan Bradley, Justin Thomas, Webb Simpson are on the list here. Adam Svensson sticks out. I know you brought up Adam Svensson's name a month ago, so you just didn't like him as a long shot, though, this week, Jared.
No, he's not playing quite well enough to make my list, but this is the type of course you'd want to bet him at because he's not a long hitter, but he's definitely more accurate than average.
And then as far as the par 4 is 4 to 450, is that because there are a lot of those at this event, Jared?
Yeah, there are 8 of those, 8 par 4s between 400 and 450 yards. So that played a part in my model this week.
Okay, so as far as our picks, we have Cantlay, we have Thomas, and Harmon. That's it. Now, Brooks Koepka was on both lists, but like you said, Jan, he will be playing this week. So
no, I'm sure he'll be suspended now. Because I thought he was just starting to get his game together.
Yeah, it might have been because it was a major. He started playing pretty good last week. Morikawa actually did that again, where it looked like he was gonna. Yeah,
don't get me started on Morikawa.
Why is that?
He should have won that tournament. It just he shot in the 60s 3 rounds, and then I don't know what happened on Saturday.
He was I couldn't believe it. I only watched him for half the round, and then I went and played. And when I came back, I'm like, what happened?
He's not, and I'd have to look at the numbers to make sure this is accurate. But I don't think he's a very good wind player. And that Saturday the wind picked up more than the other 3 days. So I'm guessing that's what got him.
Yeah, they were talking.
Yeah, that's probably true.
They were talking about how he is just not on top of his game.
Yeah, he said on Wednesday that he forgot how to hit his cut shot. But he was hitting it. He was hitting it all 4 days, so it came back, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was an interesting comment when he said that he hits a cut his whole life and he started hitting a draw and he didn't know what to do. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's what you were mentioning, Jared, about not wanting to see the dilution of the players on the PGA Tour and the LIV Tour. I think the one thing that I'm still okay with is that even though Koepka's leaving, if you notice that a lot of the guys that have left, Reed, Koepka, and who's the other major champ? That's Justin.
Bryson.
And Bryson. All four of those guys are struggling.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting?
Yep.
It's almost like, hey, you know what? I don't know if they're struggling because this is something that's been on their minds for a while. I have no idea. Or it's, hey, you know what? I realize how it is now. My game can go up, it can go down. I'm kind of struggling right now. Let me take the money. But I would be a lot more freaked out if Morikawa were to leave. Then that would be the first sign that, wait a second, this is not a good thing. But at least the players that are leaving are struggling, and they are former major champs, and maybe they feel they've already got their major trophies and they can take the cash while they're at it. So I'm okay that Koepka's left. I just don't want to see any of the guys that are really on top of their game leave.
Right. Yeah. None of the guys that have left individually yet bother me. But again, it's the collection of them. And we're just, starting. And even so we talked about Gooch leaving. Abraham Answer, he's leaving. I mean, these aren't top end guys, but they're that second tier that
Answer's now leaving.
Picks up the quality. Yeah,
Right.
Answer's leaving as well. Yeah.
Anyone else?
I think that's
just
it.
Answer and
as
Koepka
of now
this week.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
That's amazing. But I know one thing you did say, Greg, that's true, is that when I talked to Kenny Harms, who caddies for Kevin Na, he was saying he was getting, Kevin was talking about it for the last 6 months, right? What should I do? What I could do, what I could invest in, what we could do for the families and all of that. And he kept saying, hey, stop worrying about it and let's play golf.
That's it. And we see it. And that's why I mentioned it, like with Ricky. Hey, is it his swing? Is it that he got married? Is it a combination of both? So it is, and I see it in other sports as well. When these athletes, and Jan, I mean, when you got something on your mind personally, it affects your game. You can't have anything else, because the difference is the other players that you're competing against don't have those issues to deal with. So it's tough enough to beat them when you're one-on-one. When you've got the distractions and they don't, that's a big issue for you.
That's a good point, because it's not like other sports where you can have the rest of your team kind of pick it up if you're having a little problem. But in golf, you can always say that people always say if you're getting married, getting divorced, or moving, it affects your game because it's so mental.
All right, so post our picks, and we'll start at the top. As you have Rory McIlroy. Now, I was kind of surprised that this field was this good. And I mean, Travelers has kind of, I don't know, I looked at the schedule, and it seems like a tournament that's been moved around a little bit. Like it's never always in the same spot on the calendar, or I don't know.
Well, it's the PGA's call, but what they do is if they're after a major, a lot of people don't like after a major. A lot of people don't like before a major or after a major, and there's very few that stick with that tradition. And one of them is the Heritage, which is always after the Masters.
Yeah.
Because it's such a small field that makes it so everybody's ready to play. And so they don't mind that and it's so close that people can drive across over from Augusta. So it's an easy location to get to for the players. They get the same courtesy car for the week. They get for 2 weeks. And so it's kind of like when they used to have Dallas and Fort Worth close together next to each other. So and so that part of it is. But the Travelers is actually being hurt quite a bit. And it might be that, remember I told you in the contract that you have with the PGA that you can't miss a tournament more than once. You have to then play it the next 2 years. And so if it's been following a major, they have to get so many players that don't ignore one tournament. So they probably looked at that, and then the PGA will throw them a bone next year and give them a prize one. They'll go, okay, you got stuck with it this year, but next year we'll give you a better one. And again, they can drive it from Boston to Connecticut.
And that's what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Jared, was the difference in how this was going to be a much bigger opportunity for these players to get them into the Travelers, because, as Jan said, it's so close to the U.S. Open that if they're going to play an event like this is the perfect time to do it. So, because the Travelers,
and there's only 2 more events between now and the British Open. So this is probably I would guess this is the last time we're going to see a lot of these big names before the British Open.
Yeah, they'll take a week off, and because what's next week? You said
John Deere.
Yeah, that's a week.
Yeah, they're going to have a week field probably. Yeah. Even though I guess some of the players that skipped this week, Morikawa and some of those guys will probably play next week, you would think.
Well, there is they have the PGA puts together 2 planes, one and takes all the families and caddies and players, and they take it straight from John Deere to make them want to play John Deere.
Yeah, I can understand that. So McIlroy, Scheffler, JT, those are the 3 favorites. And I have Rory, and Jan has Justin Thomas. But basically,
I don't have Cantlay.
I didn't say he was one of the top 3 yet. I said McIlroy, Scheffler, Justin. Those are the top 3.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, Cantlay, at least, what was he last week? 14th. So it's still not a top 10 in a major, but at least I guess it's something.
It was a backdoor top 14. He was never in the mix.
Right, I agree.
So McIlroy, Scheffler, Justin Thomas. Those are the 3 favorites. Again, I've had McIlroy now for 3 straight weeks, and I think it's a foolish thing for me to go away from him when he's playing this hot, and he won for me a couple of weeks ago. I know it's an event after a major, but I just, plus he's played pretty well here in his 3 years. I just can't jump off of him right now. Scheffler hasn't played well here in his 2 years. Justin only has 1 top 25 in 7 trips, a 3rd in 2016. But, and this is a key trend, this is very interesting, and maybe this has to do with the Travelers, where there have been Travelers events after majors. But here's an interesting trend. This is kind of weird, actually. The last 10 first-time winners of this event did not score a previous top 5 here. That's very interesting. And when you look at it, you see players that have won here, like Harris English last year, his previous 3 trips here, 71st, miscut. Dustin Johnson's previous 3, 31, withdrew, 34th. Ches Reeves' previous 3, miscut, 43, 47. So there's a bunch of guys who have won here that have not had previous experience in playing well. So even though Justin Thomas is only 1 top 25 and 7 appearances, I wouldn't worry about that. Why did you pick Justin Thomas this week, Jan?
Well, I think the fact that he's been so close, he won the PGA and he was working really hard for the US Open. He wanted to win 2 majors, and everybody wants to win the US Open. But I think what happens is there's going to be a residual of playing well because you've worked so hard for an Open. So there might be, I don't want to say it's a letdown, but the pressure's off. And so now you're playing well. And that, to your one, when you were talking about the stats, this is one where it's not as much the golf course as where you are, how you were coming into playing. So there's still, the most important is how you're playing now rather than the courses. There's horses for courses. There's certain courses that suit people and you've got a great visual. But with JT, he can win at any time because he bombs it and he's a great putter. And this golf course, there's a lot of hills where you've got to hit the ball high. And he's one of those guys that can get that driver and hit it so far down there, and he's a great wedge player. So I like him hitting his driver and wedges all day long.
Well, and Thomas hit the ball well enough to win last week. He was top 10 in the field on approach and gained strokes off the tee. He lost 2 strokes putting and he lost 2 strokes around the green. That's his
unusual
problem
for him.
Yeah. Yep.
And to your point, Jan, those last 3 players that I just talked about that did not play well in their previous 3 appearances at this event, coming into the event, Harris English was 3rd at the US Open, then won the next week. Dustin Johnson was 17th at the RBC Heritage, then won the Travelers. Ches Reavie was 3rd at the US Open, and then won the Travelers. So the point that Jan makes is really where you want to stick to this week. Take a look at players who are playing well coming in as opposed to how necessarily they played at this particular golf course. Then you have Patrick Cantlay. Both Jan and I have Cantlay as our top picks. Jan is number 1 with Cantlay. I have him as my second pick. And this is a golf course, Jan, that you would think is tailor-made for Patrick Cantlay. He's got 5 top 25s and 7 appearances. 4 of those are top 15s, and they've all come the last 4 years. He does have 3 top 15s in his last 4 events, including a third at Memorial. So what about Cantlay this week as your top pick?
Well, I just think he's got something to prove. You know, his name's been thrown about now like, oh, he's lost it. He can't play. He can't match the big boys. He doesn't hit it far enough. And I think this is a course where he can make a statement again. And I think it's going to be, I'm going to look for him to be really, really focused.
Yeah, he hasn't won since last year's BMW Championship towards the end of the season.
And he does well towards the end. I know he got off to a good start this year because he lost, you know, in that playoff in Phoenix, and he played well at the Tour Championship at the beginning of the year in Hawaii. But then he just had a huge slump.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he won that team event, but he really, I think he plays better towards the end of the year.
Yeah, he's like I said, he's starting to pick it up a little bit more now. So this, I think, I agree with you. I think this is a good week for him. And I think he just wants to go out there and win. So I don't think it matters to him. It's not a major. Why did you not like Cantlay, Jared?
So Cantlay actually came in number 1 in my model.
Okay.
But my top pick came in number 2, and I'm getting 4 extra points with Sam Burns. So I was between Cantlay and Burns as my top pick. I didn't want to pick both of them, so I just took Burns for the extra 4 points.
Okay. So and that we segue to Burns because Jan has Burns as her third pick. He's your number 1 pick, Jared. He's gotten better each outing here over his 3 appearances, so that's good. Even though he's actually gone the opposite way on the season. But he was there. He had a chance over the weekend, just like Fitzpatrick. He was with Fitzpatrick on Saturday. He was with Rory on Sunday, but he just couldn't get anything going over the weekend, especially on Sunday. But still, he's having an incredible stretch, probably about a year now. Why did you make him your top pick?
Yeah, I mean, Burns has 3 wins this PGA Tour season. He has 2 wins this calendar year. And you look at where those wins came: Valspar, which is a shorter par 71, Charles Schwab, which is a shorter par 70. Charles Schwab, by the way, came the week after the PGA Championship, so he already proved he can get refocused and win the week after a major. He does well on these shorter par 70s. He didn't make that top 10 list, but he's 18th in this field on those par 70s we were talking about, under 7,200 yards. He's a good par 4 scorer. He's 7th in the field in par 4 scoring. So I think it's a good fit for Burns. Again, he's already won on 2 shorter courses this season. I think he can do it again.
That's interesting because he hits the ball long.
Right.
That's really interesting. I know he hits it. A lot of the guys hit it left to right, and he hits it right to left. And I'm always impressed with Sam Burns' game. I think it's really good.
I mean, that would really be something if Sam Burns won this week, because again, that would be what? That would be 5 wins.
4
since last year.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Since what? Since the Valspar of last year, which was May.
Wow.
Correct.
So really, that would be like 13 months, 14 months. He'd had 5 wins. That would be incredible if he could do it. But he's right there. Okay.
And he still probably wouldn't win Player of the Year because it's got to be Scheffler, right?
Yeah.
It does. Looking that way
as of now.
Yeah, because Burns that's the one thing though, as we saw, he's getting a little bit better in the majors, but there's still something there. Listen. Okay, next up we have Schauffele and Spieth are at 20-1. Nobody picked either of those players. Spieth won this event back in 2017. I remember when he won that event too, because he wasn't really doing much, and then he wins, and then he goes to the Open and wins there. It was an incredible situation how that worked out for him. Schauffele, meanwhile, 14th last week. Again, he plays well in majors. He's got 4 straight top 20s, but he's dropped from 4th in the world in August to 15th. So even though he's playing okay, it's still showing you that there's just still something missing from his game, and we haven't. I don't think have we taken him at all this year in any of our picks.
I don't think so.
Jared has a couple of times. Didn't
he's talked about it.
I was gonna say I in the past have bet Xander quite a bit, and I've kind of stopped just because he's lost me a lot of money.
You haven't picked him yet.
Well, I watched the Valspar, and I hate to say I wasn't. I mean, because they're all impressive. I wasn't super impressed with him or Morikawa. I watched him play a lot, followed him around a lot of holes, and was like, they didn't seem to have that spark. And I mean, I'm sure they can get it back, but they weren't like super impressive. That's why I keep pressing with Sam, is that wow, there was a huge difference in just the vibe.
All right, and then we've got Power and Bradley at 28-1, and I have Bradley as my third choice. He's gone the opposite way of Schauffele. He was 91st in February. He's now 44th in the world. He's got 5 top 15s during that stretch. A couple top 5s and a runner-up. Was in contention last week. Played well at this golf course before, runner-up in 2019, even though he's missed the cut the last 2 years, which might actually be a good omen for him based on some of the other players who have won and their poor play the last few years leading up. Power I was considering as well. He almost made. I was on the short list. He's got 5 top 30s in his last 7, and it was a pretty strong 12th last week at the U.S. Open. So, what about not taking Bradley, Jared? Since I took him, and what about Power as well?
So I like both guys. I couldn't get there at 28-1. Keegan, I especially like he checks all the boxes. Like you said, has been good here. Was good last week. Seems like a good fit for this course, but 28-1 on a guy that hasn't. Yeah, at least he hasn't won since 2018. It's been a while.
That is that is the one thing that concerned me as well. Power, Jan, are you surprised Seamus Power is playing as well as he is?
No. I mean, he's. I like his golf swing. I think he loves playing on the PGA Tour compared to the European Tour. So I think that part's good. And he's one of those ones that's going to just keep improving. I don't know if he's ready to win.
All right, 35-1. We have just one player on our board here. And that's once again, and I like it because I've been doing it myself, and that's just go back once again to the same player, Joaquin Niemann. Jared, Niemann is your second choice at 35-1. Got 1 top 5 here out of 3 appearances. Didn't really show up last week, but he's made 8 straight cuts.
Yeah, kind of the same deal as Burns, where he's just disappointed in these majors so far. But I think he has the game for it. I think he'll get there. I still think 35-1 is good value on Joaquin Niemann. He's 5th in this field in strokes gained total on the year. He's 4th off the tee, 21st on approach. He's 4th in the field on Pete Dye courses. We haven't talked about Pete Dye yet, but I'd like your thoughts on Pete Dye courses, Jangs. I know they tend to be tricky as far as like eye lines and stuff, and I think we see the same players play well on Pete Dye courses a lot of the time, and Niemann is one of those. So I like him here. Niemann has a 5th here, as you mentioned, Greg. He also has a 5th and a 12th at Heritage, which is another Pete Dye course.
Yeah, Pete is really good about optical illusions, and so that's the part that you've got to trick. When I worked for Pete, he was always saying the par 3s are the key. So because you've only got one chance to trick you, so he said he tries to really work on optical illusions on par 3s, and he wants to punish you if you go for the pin and you miss it. He wants to make sure you don't get up and down. So next time we look at a Pete Dye course, we should look at par 3s and who does well on par 3s, because that's something that Pete pushed when I worked for him a lot, was let's trick them as much as we can with the eye on the par 3s.
Varner's also 35-1. He almost made my list. What were you thinking about Varner, Jared?
So full disclosure, I actually bet Varner on FanDuel at 65-1.
Oh, wow.
He didn't make my list here because I don't like him at 35-1. He's kind of like Keegan Bradley. Like everything's there. I mean, Keegan's won before. Varner has not won on the PGA Tour. That's the issue with Varner. Like, can he close the deal? He's been there a few times, and I don't want to say he chokes, but he has definitely struggled on Sundays when he's had a chance to win. So again, at 35-1, I don't love it, but if you can get him at 65 or even like 50-1, I think Varner's worth a shot.
I hear you. I mean, if you really think about it, Niemann, let's see, and even a few other players, Wise. I mean, those are a couple of guys that their odds should be better than Keegan Bradley's.
Yeah, Sung J M, I think, is in that area.
Yeah, he's 35-1. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good bet.
Okay, 40-1. We have Jan's second choice, Brian Harman. Definitely somebody that I was considering, and I'm sure you were probably thinking about it too, Jared, because Harman's got 3 top 10s in his last 4. And that's on this golf course. So in the last 4 years, 3 top 10s, 5th last year. He's, even though he's 43rd last week, he played better early, kind of faltered down the stretch. So it's been a while since Brian Harman won. So I guess you felt this could be a good week, Jan.
Well, I think that if he's at the stage now where it's do or die for him, if he doesn't win now, it's going to be getting too late to win again. I think he's at that age. I think what's he in his early 40s or late 30s, and I love his golf swing and the fact that it's actually starting to play well. And I think this golf course is perfect for him. He actually really strikes it well, and has a good short game. I actually think this is if he's going to do it, it's going to be here.
Yeah, he's actually improved from 123rd in the world ranking in 2019, 91st in 2020, 61st last year. He's up to 53rd right now. But the one thing that's missing, he hasn't won since 2017. Did you consider Harman, Jared?
He was like the first guy I looked for when the odds came out on Monday, because I knew he had played well here in the past, and I knew he's coming in good form. But to me, all that is kind of priced into his odds on DraftKings. So I think he's a fine bet. I didn't see him as a big value.
Finau, Koepka, they're also in this area, like Fleetwood, 50-1. Now we've got some other players to talk about, including a couple of our picks, and one of them is Leishman, Jan. And I was actually thinking about Leishman myself, especially at 50-1. This is a really good course for him. He's made 10 of 11 cuts on the golf course. 7 of those are top 30s, 3 top 10s. He's got the win in 2012. He's coming up 14th last week. A really good day on Sunday. So that made me really consider Leishman hard, but just didn't make my final list. But he made your list, your 5th choice, Jan.
Yeah, I always kind of, if in between something, I'm always going to go with an Aussie. And I think he's got a little bit to prove because Cam Smith, his close friend, has started to play really well. So I think they're both probably going to skip next week and go over to the British and play the Scottish together. So I think this is his chance to have some confidence. Like you said, Greg, he had a great round on Sunday. I looked at the way he was swinging, and I liked the way his swing looked. He's always been a great putter, and sometimes his swing gets a little off. So I feel like, and again, he hits the ball right to left. So last week's course was good for him. This course, he can hit it both ways as long as you hit it straight. He hits it long enough, so he's going to have a lot of wedges.
And actually, Leishman's 14th last week was his best result since the 10th place finish at the Century.
Wow.
So, and he started the year 33rd. And he's now 50th. So maybe that 14th last week will get himself going. What about Leishman, Jared? And then talk about Wise, because I was definitely considering Wise myself. I think you have to take him this week. I know you took him last week and you've jumped on him.
Yeah.
And so I figured, all right, you got him. You deserve to take him this week. And you just got a feeling that, especially after the way he played last week at a major, that maybe he's really ready.
Yeah, Wise and Neiman are kind of my guys at this point. I think, to me, they are like the 2 guys I'd bet on to be the next, breakthroughs, potentially join like the elite top 10 kind of range. So Wise is just kind of a value play for me at 50-1. He's not a great fit on this course. You look at his par 4 scoring; it's kind of, he's 37th in par 4 scoring. He's 34th on the shorter par 4, so it's not ideal. But again, to me, he's better than 50-1 in this field, so I'm just going to take a shot on him.
Yeah, he was at 93rd at the RBC Heritage. He's now 45th. That's how quickly he's rising up the ranks. By the way, Davis Riley, I mean, he's not on my picks, but I have to put a couple of bucks on Riley this week. I mean, why not? I mean, he was 31st last week, which is solid for the U.S. Open. He started the year 342nd in the world. He's now 75th. So he's getting close. Again, Riley also at 50-1. Again, we mentioned Henley was at 50-1, but he's no longer playing this week. 65-1. We have a bunch of players to talk about, including I have 2 of my picks at 65-1. McCarthy and Mitchell, and then There's let's see. We also have Steele, which is your fourth choice at 65 to 1, Jared. What did you think about my picks, Mitchell and McCarthy? Because McCarthy is coming off at a very impressive 7th last week at the U.S. Open. Before that, 5th at the Memorial. So his confidence is through the roof. Mitchell, meanwhile, is trending perfectly. 7th last time out. And I just think, and I was thinking of taking him the last few weeks. I think this might be a good week to take him at those odds. And then you've got Steele, who has 8 top 25s and 11 appearances at the Travelers, including 1 top 5. So talk about those 3 players, Jared.
Yeah, so Steele has gained the 8th most strokes at this course over the last 4 years. So as you alluded to, he's been really good here, and he comes in with some really hot ball striking. Steele's gained off the tee in 10 straight events. He's gained on approach in 6 of his last 7. Over the last 3 months in this deal, he's 14th in both off the tee and approach. So kind of that combination of good recent form plus good course history, I think he makes sense at 65 to 1.
And then Mitchell and McCarthy. What do you think about that? And also Tringali, because Tringali was someone I was thinking about too at 65 to 1, because he's trending in the right direction. 14th at the U.S. Open, had a good Sunday, but I decided to take Mitchell and McCarthy.
Yeah, McCarthy I consider just based on that really a hot weekend, right? He or is it a hot 3? Did he have a good Friday just to make the cut too?
Yeah, no, he looked good. He actually, I think, was barely made the cut and then had a really good weekend.
Right. Yeah. So I think he's a good play just based on recent form. Mitchell, I didn't look at too closely, but looking at the numbers, I mean, he's been crushing it off the tee, so he can definitely make hay there. Tringale's not for me. He's still looking for his first PGA Tour win, so I'll let him get that without me.
Yeah. By the way, Steele 10th at the Memorial and 9th at the PGA. Those are his last 2 events.
Wow.
Also at 80 to 1, we have 2 more picks. One is Jared's pick, Webb Simpson. The other, Jan, is your pick, Maverick McNeely, your second alternate. Where did the McNeely pick come from?
Well, his coach is a very good friend of mine, and he left his coach and tried to have someone in Vegas where he had moved to because he's from the San Francisco area, and he struggled. I mean, he was, made it onto tour, and then he struggled when he changed coaches, and I was very upset with him, and I wasn't going to pick him ever. But now he's gone back with his old coach, who's a great teacher and a good friend of mine. And then he didn't qualify for the Open, so he had last week working with him. So I feel like he's ready to break out and show that he's made the right decision coming back to Alex. So I'm really pushing for him to do well now.
And Jared Simpson, he's made 8 of 9 cuts at the Travelers with 6 top 35s and 1 top 5.
See, I like Jared's. That's a good show. I think that's a good one, Jared.
Yeah, I mean, to me, these short courses are just where Webb is most likely to win. He's won the Heritage. He's won the Players. That's a shorter course. He has 5 career top 5s at Wyndham. That's a short course. He's also good on these Pete Dye courses. I looked at that. He's 12th in this field on all Pete Dye courses. He missed the cut at the U.S. Open last week on the number. He actually gained on approach last week, so he played fine. He's gained on approach in 5 straight events now. He's gained off the tee in 5 of his last 6. So he had been struggling a bit like early this year, but over the last couple months now, I think he's got it back together. So, at 80 to 1, I think that's a good number on Webb.
I agree. I liked that when I saw that too.
Also 80 to 1. By the way, Jason Day, he needs to start, picking him off. And more than anything, he needs to stay healthy. He has a good resume at this event, but you can't really touch. Day is one of those players that you're just better off taking live wagering. To see if it gets off to a good start. Maybe on even Saturday or Sunday, you can think about what you want to do there. But I don't even know if I trust him to have good 4 days in a row. 100 to 1, we have a few picks. Jan's first alternate, my 5th pick, Joel Damon. And why not? After the way he played at the U.S. Open, finishing 10th. So he is trending in the right direction. And interestingly, he's also trending in the right direction at this golf course. So he's gotten better each time. The last time he played here a couple of years ago, he was 12 under par, finished 20th. That's his best result. So I like the 2 trends heading in the right. And 100 to 1 is a good number. I also went with Todd at 100 to 1. His last 2 events are 13th and 3rd. He has 3 top 30s and 6 attempts at this golf course. So let's Siwoo Kim, another 100 to 1 shot is Jared. So one of his picks is actually his first alternate. Let's start, Jan, with why you went with Damon.
Well, same everything that you just said. You know, he's playing well. He had a great Open. When you have a good Open, you come out really confident. You're really pretty excited because it's a huge financial tournament to make the cut there, because they only take the top 60. It's really good that if you make it into a major, it gives you some confidence. Like, did he get in the top 10 of that one? So then that means he gets to play every major next year, because if you've made it in the top 10 in the US Open, you get automatic in. I don't know if the Masters, but you get automatic into the PGA, the British, and the next US Open. So he's now set for 3 of the biggest money tournaments, and so I think he's going to be very high and positive.
What do you think about his Gilligan hat?
Well, you know
thumbs
what?
up, thumbs down?
I think I'm definitely thumbs up on it, because they use those a lot in Australia. We call them a bucket hat.
Okay.
But no, I think I think it's good. I like it. And he must be paranoid about getting sun on his neck.
Hey, it's working for him.
He's an interesting guy. He definitely dances to the beat of his own drum. He went on the No Laying Up podcast Sunday night, like right off the course.
Oh, wow.
He was sitting on his couch just talking to those guys, talking about the tournament, the course setup, all that. It was a really good podcast if you guys have a chance to check it out.
What's it called?
No Laying Up is the name of the podcast.
No Laying Up?
Yep.
Okay. Siwoo Kim, why'd you take him?
But you talk about guys that play well on Pete Dye courses. Siwoo is 3rd in this field on Pete Dye courses. He won at the Players, which is a Pete Dye course. He also won at the Amex, which I believe 2 of the 4 rounds at the Amex are on a Pete Dye course. I could be wrong. At least one of the rounds. That's a tournament where they play a course rotation. But Siwoo is good on Pete Dye courses. We're on Pete Dye this week. He also, go back to that list of the best players on short par 70s. Siwoo is 3rd on that list. So he's good on Pete Dye, good on short courses. Give him a shot here.
Other players that we could have considered. I mean, Kisner I would have considered, but he's missed 5 straight cuts. So he is not on top of his game, even though this is a course that you would think would fit him. But at 150 to 1, the last pick of our group is Johnny Vegas. You're going back to Johnny Vegas, Jared. So what's the deal with Johnny Vegas?
I think 150 is just way too, like I'd make him like 70 or 80 in this field.
Really?
I don't know what he's doing at 150. I mean, so you look at over the last 2 years, he's 25th in this field in strokes gained total. This year, he's 32nd in strokes gained total. So, he's a top 25, top 30 player in that metric. And you remember he missed like a month in like March to April with an injury, but he's played 5 events since coming back from the injury. He's gained off the tee in 4 of the 5. He's gained on approach in 3 of the 5, including last time out of the Canadian Open, he gained 6.5 strokes on approach. It was one of the top 10 players on approach last time out. The putter has been horrible since he came back from the injury. I don't know if that's because of the injury, if he's just kind of on a cold stretch with the putter. But if he can get the putter figured out, again, I don't think he should be 150 to 1. So I'm gonna take him.
Okay. Were there any other sleepers or long shots? Your boy Gim that you took last time out actually finished 18th when you picked him. He's 150 to 1. Patrick Rogers has made 6 of his last 7 cuts with 5 top 35s and 1 top 10. But that's one of those players that when he first started out on tour, there was so much more expected out of him. This is just this is a good golf course for him, though. So I'd throw a buck on him at 150 to 1. But to expect him to win, I don't know. So what about any of these other sleepers or long shots, Jared?
Yeah, so Gim I considered. Adam Svensson I did look at. Again, I just don't think he's been playing quite well enough, but he's 250 to 1, so you can toss a few bucks on him. The last guy I considered, 300 to 1, Joseph Bramlett.
Okay.
He was 6th best at the US Open last week on approach. He also gained strokes off the tee, gained strokes around the green. He lost like 10 strokes putting. Ooh. He was Yeah, he was the worst putter in the field. So he was
Oh my goodness.
top 10 in approach, worst putter. I like taking shots on those guys because I think it's easier to turn those putting numbers around. If he can have another high end approach week, 300 to 1, throw a buck or two on him.
He won the Corn Ferry Tour Championship last year.
Yeah, wow. He's a bomber, so it's probably not the best course for him. But who knows?
All right, so that's your field for the Travelers. And then next week, again, it's the John Deere. Let's wrap up by talking about where Jan is. That's the LPGA Championship. And Jan, tell us about, so it's Congressional, correct?
Yes, it's the blue course, the Congressional, which has been renovated. They renovated thinking they were going to be in the rotation for the U.S. Open. So they spent, I think, 20 or 30 million renovating the course. They took out 1,500 trees and did everything that usually what the USGA wanted to make it a major. And then they said, no, we're not going to have it at one of it. You're not going to be in rotation. So they were pretty upset. They went to the PGA, met with the PGA of America, and they now have the KPMG. They have a future Solheim coming here. They have a future Ryder Cup. And so they're really, they were determined after the USGA turned them down. So they have spent a lot of money getting ready for majors. They are so excited. I talked to some of the caddies and players today. They think that the course is so hard. But the good thing is it's firm underneath because they're playing it really long. And I know these players are, the girls now can bomb it. But the whole key on this is the new greens. The greens are huge. They have a lot of undulation. When I played it last year, I had a lot of 3-putts, and I'm a good putter. It was the first time I'd played it again since they'd renovated it, and it was like, it doesn't even seem the same golf course. So the caddies have all been saying that it's going to have to be not just someone that hits it long, but it's going to be someone that has a bunch of different kinds of short shots. So someone that can lay it back and pop it up high if they missed a green and with spin. And they said the best person for all of those is Lydia Ko. They say her short game matches his golf course. So at first I was going to pick the long hitter like a Nelly Corder or even Brooke Henderson, who bombs it because she's playing well right now and won a couple of weeks ago, and Jennifer Kupcho. But after what the caddies were saying, they think they're picking Lydia Ko. So I'm going with Lydia Ko.
10 to 1. 10 to 1. Now, Jennifer Kupcho is 40 to 1.
Yeah, I know. I had her as my second pick, didn't I?
Okay. You have Kupcho as your third. Yeah, well, either your second or third, because you have Hannah Green in there as well. I think you have Kupcho second, Green third, maybe.
Yeah, I went with two long ones because Hannah Green has won one before, not at this course, but she's hitting it long. She's playing, and she likes the longer golf courses, and she's used to a lot of different wedge stuff and chipping because of Australia, because she comes from Australia. So they were my three. I think it's obviously Minjee Lee's playing great, and she does well under pressure, and so she's got an all-round game. There's not really any weaknesses. That she doesn't have the standout short game that Lydia does, but she definitely has got it all.
Okay, now what are you doing at this event this week, Jan?
Well, they honor the past champions, and so this week we get to hang out with the players in the locker room and at the hospitality. But we have a dinner tomorrow night sponsored by KPMG, and then we all tell a story of winning our major and what it meant to us, and something about the last day, what it was like for the tournament. So
okay, that's cool.
It's kind of fun. And what's interesting is I always thought they should have that as the pro-am party, but it's a very closed event. To get invited to go to this, not just the players, but the people that get to listen to the stories, is everybody's like always wants the invite to it because it's a very closed event.
So is there a player, and you've taken two long shots, Green and Kupcho, but is there a player that we could, especially on the women's tour, happens all the time if you're not paying enough attention to it, where you look up and you see someone leading that you may have never heard of before? Is there one of those players that, can you name somebody that could be that player this week?
Well, the thing is with the LPGA that it seems like it's a lot easier to choose the favorites than it is with the PGA.
That's true.
You know, when it seems like the top 10 stay the top 10, and so it's hard to get someone from behind. I like, you know, I still want to favor the long hitters if it gets wet and they're going to have to bomb it. You got to go with the long hitters, and I like Madsen. I think she hits it long, and so I think. And then one that I would think that I'm surprised, what are the odds? The Swedish girl that's won majors before, and I really feel like she's got a chance. And she's down the list. She's down the list more than I thought she'd be.
The player's name?
Yeah, I'm looking up now. I'm having a blank on her
Is
name.
she
Anna Norquist?
Yes. How'd you know?
That sounds Swedish.
And
80 to 1.
I watched Anna today. I watched her practice today. Her swing looked good. She's really confident. She's traveling with her dog, and so her dog was out there, and she just had this really happy attitude. And I thought, wow, you know, normally on a Tuesday of a pro-am at the major, you're like a nervous wreck, right? You're too stressed. You don't want to talk to anybody. And she really had a nice, relaxed look on her face. So I'm thinking, you know, she might be a sleeper.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of these long shots. It's like, what happened to some of these players? Like Jatanagarn, Arya Jatanagarn. I mean, I thought she was playing.
Yeah.
She hasn't been playing well then, huh?
No, she hits it a long way, but she hits it really crooked. And this is a tough golf course if you're hitting it crooked. They've got all that new fescue.
Okay.
And it's not like thin fescue, it's thick fescue.
And So Young Rue, I know she's played better.
Yeah, and she doesn't hit it crooked. I mean, she could always come through, and the same as NB Park. I mean, NB Park has an amazing record in majors, but she's such a good putter. I mean, this golf course, these greens, the greens are so big. If you don't hit on the right level, you're going to three putt.
And then, of course, you have the Americans. You got you got Lexi Thompson. You got the Canadian Brooke Henderson. You know,
Lexi's always a good choice because she hits it long.
Okay.
But again, when she hits those big hooks, sometimes you can get in the fescue. It's pretty hard to get out.
All right, and then as far as once the Travelers begins, keep this in mind for your live wagering as far as round by round. Don't worry if your player gets off to a bad start, because only 2 of the last 12 winners began the second round with the lead, and 6 of the last 12 started the second round 15th or higher, including 25th, 48th, 62nd, 79th, and 79th. So it doesn't seem to matter how you started the Travelers in the first round. I don't know if that has to do with, major hangover for first round. I don't know. But
well, I think a lot of it's got to do with 15, 16, and 17 at water holes.
Oh.
And you can, and then you can go for the green on 15. But if it's a kind of a drivable, but look how many people have fitted in the water there at coming down the stretch when the pressure's on. That if you've got your score in there and they're birdie holes, but if it's either birdie or bogey. So, and 17's a hard driving hole with water all the way down the right. So I always feel like that if you're leading, you've got all you're worried about is your drive on 15, your drive on 17. So when you can sneak in before and make birdies on those holes, then just sit there and watch.
Matter of fact, 2 of the last 4 winners started the second round 7 and 9 shots back. So you can be that far back after the first round and you still have a chance. And then lastly, only 2 of the last 10 winners started the final round with the lead.
Yeah, it's a hard golf course to lead on it, like I said. And then we have to talk about the the Senior Open is this week too.
Who do you like in that? Where is that?
That's at Saucon Valley, which is another great golf course. I love that golf course. But I talked to one of the players yesterday, actually the one I work with on my golf swing now. Like Gary Coles is playing in it. He qualified for it. And he said that the rough is so bad that they've let the rough grow up that people are losing their golf balls even in the practice rounds. And so these are the big top players. And so if that's the case, you got to go with Steve Stricker. I love his short game, and he also hits it really straight. But then I thought if I had Ernie Els, because he can get it out of that long grass, because Gavin told me that he missed the fairway in one hole, and he hit his wedge as hard as he could to get it out, and it only went like 80 yards. It's so thick because they normally don't have that. It's usually fairway, and they've let the fairways grow in, and it's thick new grass, and he said it's brutal. It's 6 inches, and they said they're going to cut it a couple of inches, but it's so thick that it's going to have to be someone big and strong like Ernie Els or Alex Chaka to be able to. So it's kind of a combination. I like Stricker's game. I think as long as he's healthy, I think he's perfect for this golf course. But I also like the big, strong ones too.
Well, Els is 25-1. Chaka is 40-1.
Oh, there you go.
Who is Stephen Alker? And how was he the
Stephen
favorite?
Alker is he's a guy from New Zealand that's having a really, really good year. He ran away with one of the majors earlier in the year.
So did he ever?
And he's just turned 50, so he's young and strong.
So he never played on the PGA Tour? He
did for a little while, but he didn't do that well. But he's gone back and played at home.
Okay.
And on the Australasian Tour, and he's played really well.
He's heavy favorite to win this thing. That's
he's having a great year, and he ran away I'm trying to think which one it was, the PGA Seniors.
Okay. Jim Furyk is 35-1, but he's not one of those big guys you're talking about.
I don't like Furyk because if he gets in that rough with that swing, he can catch the rough with his club, and it's going to turn over.
BJ Singh. I'm surprised he hasn't played better in this. How old is he now?
He's in his 60s.
Okay, that's not bad. All right, so that's and where is this again?
Saucon Valley in Pennsylvania.
Another northeast.
It's a really great golf course.
Everything's in the northeast.
Yeah.
So so again, we've got John Deere next week, and I think is that it for the. Is that Irish Opens next week. So that's usually a good Euro card. I mean, Billy Horschel's over in Europe this week. I'm not sure what.
He's the favorite there.
Yeah, so I'm sure he'll play next week then if he's there for this week. So Irish Open next week. Maybe Rory will go over there. He never misses that, right?
Yeah.
The Irish Open. He'll probably be there with Shane Lowry. Shane Lowry's probably already over there. All right. Great job as always, guys. Good to have you on, guys, girls.
Thank you.
And we will talk again next week. Are you going to be around again next week, Jan? You're not flying back to Australia or nothing, are you?
No. I may stay back up. I may go watch some golf. I love watching the men's golf, so maybe I'll go up to. Oh no, I'm not going to John Deere. I'll go the next week. I'll go when they're in Boston.
Yeah, nobody goes to John Deere. Not even people who are on holiday.
Not even the players.
Not even the players, yeah. Okay, Jared, appreciate it. What do you got coming up at Draft Sharks?
Now those profiles are finally done, so they're up there. I just posted an article today looking at best ball drafts and kind of when to target different positions. So we're cranking out articles
and
now.
We'll be talking.
We've got hockey. Is hockey tonight? Tampa tonight?
I think tomorrow's game 4. Yeah, I think tomorrow's game 4.
All right. Well, that's what I'm doing tomorrow.
That was a big win for the Lightning.
It was.
So we'll talk again next week, and we'll have a lot to recap with the U.S. Seniors Open and the LPGA Championship, and of course the Travelers. And we'll find out who bolts for the LIV Tour next week.
That's a good one.
See you next week.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Good luck, guys.